I still don't know what I heard that night. The sound wasn't human. It couldn't have been. But when I looked through the crack of my door, something was crawling toward me. Before we begin, please tell me, what city are you watching from? Maybe next time I'll share a terrifying story that happened right where you live. And if you enjoy true horror stories like this, make sure to subscribe, turn on the bell, leave a like and a comment, and watch until the very end. Because tonight's ending will leave you questioning what's real. I grew up in a small rural town in southern Ohio. My parents divorced when I was 12, and my mom and I moved into this old rental house that sat at the edge of the woods. The landlord told us it was built sometime in the 1940s. Drafty, creaky, and honestly, falling apart. But rent was cheap, and we didn't have much choice. The weird thing about that house was the crawl space. It wasn't accessible from the outside. The only way in was a small square panel in the hallway floor, right outside my bedroom. The landlord said it was for plumbing, but even as a kid, I hated how it looked like a secret door to somewhere dark. For the first few weeks, everything was fine. My mom worked night shifts at a nursing home, and I'd be home alone most nights. I'd stay up late doing homework or watching TV in the living room. The forest outside was dense, so at night, everything was pitch black past the windows. Then one night, around 2 a.m., I heard something scratching beneath the floor. It wasn't loud, but it was steady, like nails against wood. Screet. 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 I paused the TV and just listened. It went on for maybe 20 seconds before stopping. At first, I thought it might have been a raccoon or a squirrel, but we didn't have any openings outside. No basement vents, no holes. The next day, Primera told my mom, but she brushed it off. Probably a possum, she said. The following night, it came this time, closer. The sound wasn't beneath the living room anymore. It was under my bedroom. I remember turning off the lights, sitting up in bed, and feeling the vibration. Something was moving under the floorboards, crawling. Slowly, I pressed my ear to the floor and heard a faint wheezing, like someone breathing through a wet rag. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I told my mom again, but she laughed it off. Said I'd been watching too many horror movies, so I decided to prove it. That evening, before she left for work, I sprinkled flour all around the crawl space panel in the hallway. My plan was simple. If something came out, I'd see footprints. That night, I lay in bed with the lights off, staring at the hallway through the open door. Around 1:45 a.m. I heard it again. S.C. Rich, ... S.C. Rich, ... Thump. Then, silence, and then a slow creak. The sound of the crawlspace panel lifting. My whole body went cold. Something heavy was dragging itself onto the floor. I could hear it breathing, shallow and uneven. Through the crack of my bedroom door, I could see a faint outline in the dark hallway. Something hunched and pale. Its arms were too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, almost brushing the floor. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't move. The thing turned its head slightly, like it was listening. Then it crawled past my door, into the living room. I heard the soft drag of its limbs on the hardwood and then silence. I stayed frozen until dawn. When my mom came home, I told her everything. She didn't believe me, said I probably dreamed it, but when I showed her the flower, she stopped talking. There were prints. Not like human ones. More like long, misshapen hands, each finger ending in a pointed tip. The marks led from the crawlspace panel, straight toward my bedroom door. Mom called the landlord immediately. He came over that afternoon, checked the crawlspace with a flashlight, and said it was empty. No animals, no holes, he said. You probably imagined it. But that night, when Mom went to work again, I locked my door and pushed my dresser against it. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of whispering. Soft, wet whispers coming from under my bed. I held my breath. I could hear words, but they didn't make sense. Busta was a broken voice repeating the same thing over and over. You're in my place. You're in my place. ... The next morning, I packed a bag and stayed at my friend's house for a week. When we came back, Mom said she'd heard noises too. The landlord finally admitted something strange. The previous tenants had complained about hearing someone in the crawlspace at night. He told us that years ago, a homeless man had broken into the house and died down there during the winter. His body wasn't found for weeks. We moved out 2 days later. Sometimes, late at night, when I am half asleep, I still hear that sound. That faint scritch beneath the floorboards. And I wonder if we ever really left him behind. It was early October, the kind of night where the fog seems alive, rolling across the road like a slow tide. I was driving home from a late shift at work, exhausted and half listening to a true crime podcast. The highway I took cut through about 30 miles of pure forest. No houses, no lights, no service stations, just endless trees and silence. I'd made that drive 100 times before, but that night, something felt different. It started with the radio. Around 11:40 p.m., the signal began to cut in and out. Static hissing, voices warping. I turned it off and tried to shake it off. My high beams caught the fog ahead, thick and white, swallowing the road. I slowed down to maybe 30 miles an hour. Then I saw her. At first I thought it was an animal, something pale at the edge of the road. But when I got closer, I realized it was a woman. She was standing just beyond the fog line, barefoot, wearing what looked like a hospital gown. Her hair was tangled and dripping wet, even though it hadn't rained in days. I pulled over instinctively, rolling down the window. "Hey, are you okay? Primera, caled out." She didn't respond. She just stood there, facing the woods. Her body was turned slightly toward me, but her head was tilted away, like she was looking at something behind her. Something about that made my stomach twist. I almost drove off right then, but I couldn't just leave someone out there. I grabbed my phone and flashlight, stepped out, and called again. "Ma'am, are you hurt?" That's when she moved. But not toward me. She twitched, like her whole body convulsed, and then she turned her head a full 90 degrees to face me. Her eyes were black, not like dark brown black, like there was no pupil or iris at all. Every instinct screamed at me to get back in the car. I stumbled backward, shining the flashlight toward her. And I swear, her face looked wrong, like her skin didn't fit right, stretched too tight around her jaw. Then she started walking toward me, slowly, dragging her feet, one step at a time. Her wet hair clung to her face, and her mouth opened slightly wide enough to see that her teeth were gray, almost translucent. I jumped back into my car and slammed the door. My hands were shaking as I turned the key, praying the engine would start. It roared to life just as she reached the driver's side window. She leaned in, pressing her face to the glass. Her breath fogged it instantly, and then, in the condensation, I saw her mouth move. She whispered something. I couldn't hear her through the window, but I could read it. "Don't look back." Then she smiled. I hit the gas and sped off, heart pounding. I didn't dare look in the mirrors. I just kept driving until I saw the first sign of civilization, a gas station about 10 miles down the highway. When I pulled in, the clerk saw my face and immediately asked if I was okay. I told him what happened. The woman, the fog, everything. His expression went pale. "Where exactly did you see her?" Ask it? I described the stretch of road. He stared at me for a moment, then said quietly, "You shouldn't have stopped." Apparently, I wasn't the first person to see her. Lucas called her the Mile 46 woman. She'd been spotted dozens of times over the past decade, always late at night, always in that same section of highway. The story went like this. Years ago, there was a car crash near that spot. A woman named Angela was on her way home from a hospital after visiting her husband. Her car slid on the wet road, went into the woods, and wasn't found for 3 days. When they finally recovered the body, it was waterlogged, even though the crash site was completely dry. Since then, people have claimed to see her sometimes standing in the fog, sometimes even appearing inside passing cars. The clerk told me that everyone who stopped to help her said the same thing. She warned them not to look back. He told me to go home, forget it, and never take that road at night again. But of course, I couldn't forget. The next morning, curiosity got the better of me. I checked my dashcam footage. Everything looked normal until about 11:43 p.m. when the fog rolled in. Then the screen glitched. For 2 full minutes, the footage warped and flickered. But right before it went black, I saw her reflection in the back seat. She was sitting there, right behind me, smiling. I threw my phone across the room. When I picked it back up, the video was gone. The entire file had deleted itself. That night I slept with every light on. Around 2 a.m., I woke up suddenly. Not because of a sound, but because of a feeling. Like someone was watching me. My window faced the woods behind the house, and pressed against the glass was a foggy handprint. Right in the center of it, written in smeared condensation, were 2 words: "Don't look." I used to work as a night security guard at a small office building on the outskirts of town. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it paid the bills. The place was quiet, too quiet most nights. Just me, a thermos of coffee, and the low hum of fluorescent lights. The building was old, built in the late 70 segundos, with narrow hallways and endless glass doors that reflected my flashlight every time I turned a corner. There were only 3 floors, but the top one was locked off entirely. Management said it had been used for storage, but nobody was allowed up there anymore after an incident years ago. They never told me what kind of incident. My shift ran from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Every 2 hours. I was supposed to do a full patrol, check the entryways, inspect the offices, make sure all lights were off. Most nights, it was routine. Boring, even. But then, around my 3rd week, strange things started happening. It began with the elevators. One night, around 1:30 a.m., I was sitting at my desk watching the monitors when I noticed the elevator indicator light flicker. It showed the elevator was moving, but no one else was in the building. I watched the screen, expecting it to stop at the 1st or 2nd floor. Instead, it went all the way to the 3rd floor, the one that was supposed to be locked. A few seconds later, the feed from the 3rd floor camera came on by itself. I stared at the grainy image. There were no lights on up there, just shadows and the faint outline of dusty cubicles. Then, for a split second, something moved. It was subtle, like a silhouette crossing between the cubicles. I blinked, thinking maybe it was static, but then it happened again, closer to the camera this time. I got up, grabbed my flashlight, and headed to the elevator. It took me a full minute to convince myself to press the button. When the doors opened, I felt a rush of cold air, colder than the rest of the building, like stepping into a freezer. The elevator doors slid open on the 3rd floor. The air smelled like old dust and metal. My flashlight cut through the darkness. Empty desks, stacked boxers, a few old file cabinets. Nothing else, but then I heard it. Footsteps. Not mine. Behind me. Slow, deliberate, echoing across the linoleum floor. I spun around. Nothing. My flashlight flickered, and for just a moment, I thought I saw someone standing in the far corner. Tall, motionless, facing the wall. When the beam steadied, the figure was gone. I hit the elevator button so fast I nearly dropped the flashlight. As soon as the doors opened, I stepped inside and slammed one. The doors closed halfway, then stopped. They opened again, and standing right in front of me, in the pitch-black hallway, was a man. He was tall, wearing what looked like a dark suit, but his head was wrong. Too long, too thin, and his face was blurred, like a smudge in reality itself. I couldn't make out eyes, a mouth, anything. Just this warped, human-like shape. He tilted his head slowly to one side, as if curious. Then the elevator doors slammed shut on their own, and the car dropped violently, every floor flashing by, until it stopped at the lobby with a hard clang. I stumbled out, gasping, my whole body shaking. The rest of the night was a blur. I sat at the desk until sunrise, watching the cameras. Nothing else happened until the last 15 minutes of my shift. Every single monitor turned black. Then, one by one, they flickered back on, showing only me. Each screen showed a different angle, a different time stamp. But in every single one, I was sitting at the desk. And beneath in every sort was that same tall figure, standing just a few feet away. When the sun finally rose, I handed in my badge and quit on the spot. But 2 days later, my phone rang. It was my old supervisor. He said the new guard had walked off the job halfway through his first night. He'd called the police after hearing someone whisper his name through the intercom system, but when they checked the building, it was empty. The report mentioned something strange, though the third-floor door had been found open, even though no one had the key. I didn't answer his call. I didn't want to know more. But that night, lying in bed, I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of elevator chimes. 3 soft dings. I froze. I live in a 1-story house. There's no elevator here. Then I noticed the faint glow coming from my hallway. I got up, heart pounding, and looked out. At the end of the hall, my reflection in the dark window was faint, but there was someone standing behind me. Tall. Still. Watching. I didn't sleep after that, and I never will work nights again. If you've made it this far, primera y en Now, which of these 3 stories kept you up the most tonight? Tell me in the comments, and maybe your story will be next. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss more true horror stories every week. Because sometimes, the scariest things aren't made up. They're waiting in the dark, watching for you.